Hey there, everybody. Have you ever had one of those days when technology just didn't want to cooperate with you? Well, Saturday night, yesterday, and tonight, that's kind of been how my computer is with me. You hear this music? It's the first time I've been able to get the music to play right in 3 days. I don't frickin' know why. It's just annoying. But we're not here to talk about what's annoying to me. I am DM Gallibond, and we are here to talk about last week from the table, which is a recap of the actual play games that I run on my D&D channels every week. So let's go ahead and get on with that, shall we? All right, Thursday nights we play the Sword Coast Chronicles. That's sort of our love letter to the 5e published campaigns. And right now we are level 4 in um, the Horde of the Dragon Queen, the Tyranny of Dragons storyline. And this means that they are on the road with the cultists traveling between Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep. Uh, per the adventure text, that's a 60-day journey. And a lot of things happen on that journey. And so they are traveling a few days, and then a random event or a planned event will happen. And so this time they started off leaving the uh, leaving the inn where the artificer had stolen some goods from the cult of the dragon, uh, some magic items to be precise, and was trying to identify those, and so successfully identified them during the journey. And then they ran into a couple of issues. The first issue they ran into is that their friend, Jamna Gleamsilver, seemed to have taken an interest in a human wearing red robes that always keeps his head covered. And when uh, the characters kind of caught a glimpse of the person's face with some tattoos on it underneath the cowl of the hood, they did some history checks, and one of them remembered quite vividly that that person has the look of the Red Wizards of Thay. And Thay is a city state on the east central portion of the continent of Faerun, so thousands of miles away from the Sword Coast. And so the question is, why is there a Red Wizard of Thay here, and why are they talking to people that are part of the Cult of the Dragon? So one of the characters decided they were going to ask. They got they found the Red Wizard when he was up by himself, and they cast suggestion on the Red Wizard. And the suggestion was a simple one: tell me why you're here. Red Wizard apparently failed his save. So he said, I'm here to escape the wrath of Zastam. Zastam has gone crazy. He is persecuting everybody who has ever opposed him. I am hoping to avoid his wrath by being this far away. Please excuse me. And then he climbed into his wagon and closed the door. The wagon where he almost always stays, by himself. So now this has given the PC something to ponder. Another time, they noticed one of the cultists, a cultist that they recognized from the cultist camp, apparently had recognized the artificer and was giving the artificer the evil eye and was wanting to know what the artificer, was just sort of keeping an eye on him. and kind of a look on his face said, "Mm, I'm not interested in you in a friendly way. I got some violence planned against you." So the party said the best way to deal with violence is to dish out violence first. But dish out violence in a way that doesn't really provoke a retribution on you. And they got that chance in a weird sort of way. So one day when they were out on the road, the some members of the caravan saw a herd of deer over there, off near a patch of woods. But among that deer was a golden stag with antlers that seemed like they were made of platinum. And the the party did some checks, and some of them said, "Yeah, there's like rumors that harming a stag like that is bad luck." But of course, there were a bunch of hunters in the caravan, and they were like, "Ooh, that pelt can make us a lot of money. We can sell those antlers, make even more money. Let's go hunt the thing." And the party was like, "Okay, how do we keep them from hunting it?" And the artificer said, "Oh, maybe I have something that'll help." Reached into his bag of tricks, threw a fuzzball on the ground, and the fuzzball turned into an axe beak. And the artificer says, "Go, go after that. Go chase after that golden stag, but don't attack it." And so the axe beak runs along, going rack. And of course, when it goes rack, all the deer go scatter to the four winds, and the stag outruns everybody. The axe beak can keep up with the stag, and the party can follow the axe beak because the person who pulled it out of the bag of tricks has kind of can tell where it's going. So they follow the axe beak, and they get to some ruins. And when they get to the ruins, they find the axe beak standing on the edge of the ruins, the stag in the middle of the ruins. And then the stag talks to them, first in a language they don't understand, and then in Elven. And it tells them that they're on the right path, follow the river of gold. There will be much blood, and not all will survive. And then it kind of nods its head at them, and it disappears. But as it disappears, a magical longbow appears on the ground in front of the players or in front of the PCs. And they're like, "Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, we'll take that." And then now I haven't forgotten what I was telling before. So this was setting up that when the cultists started giving the artificer the evil eye, the rest of the party said, "Oh, well, we have people hunted some of those deer, and they shot several deer, and they all have these big deer carcasses, and so they're going to have a big bonfire, and they're going to roast some venison steaks, and everybody's going to have a good time." Well, one of the party members, as you might recall from a previous edition of Tales from the Table, he's a bard. And so he starts playing around the fire. And um, so this cultist is also there. This cultist that has been given the evil eye to the artificer is also there. And then that cultist eventually decides he's got to go to the bathroom. And when he announces he's going to go over to the latrine and take a piss, several other people are like, "Hey, I'm going to do that." Well, the bard says, "Hey, I'm going to go take a piss too." So when the bard goes over there and realizes he doesn't have the cultist by himself, he's like, okay, now what am I going to do? And the other people from the bonfire that are also pissed say, hey, why don't you play that jig about the farmer's daughter? Hey, why don't you play that jig about the barmaid? Hey, why don't you play that jig about the girl who works for the um, girl who works for the dressmaker? Hey, why don't you play that jig about the girl who works for the baker? And so he's like, oh, well, I can play some of those, but we need some more instruments. So if somebody can go and get like maybe a tambourine and maybe get a drum and stuff like that, and one of them, who is right in the middle of pissing, turns to yell over his shoulder, and when he turns to yell over his shoulder, he starts pissing on the guy next to him. And the guy next to him is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And it starts a fight at the latrine. And so now there's this big brawl at the latrine. And the bard is like, okay, what the hell am I going to do? Because the guy who had been given the evil eye to the artificer was also involved in this brawl. Well, the artificer came to the rescue. He pulls out another fuzzball, throws it on the ground, and guess what? It turns into the same axe beak. And he says to the axe beak, go attack that guy. The guy that had been giving him the evil eye. So the axe beak goes running into the middle of the brawl and just starts attacking this guy. And other people are like, ah! And the axe beak rolls a crit, kills the cultist in one shot, and gets peppered with 2 or 3 arrows, which don't quite kill it, which is key because it was a summoned animal and not a real animal. And the artificer says, okay, run away. And so the thing runs off into the forest. And the people don't chase after it because one of the cultists is laying there dead. One of the caravan members is laying there dead. And so they go and they have a funeral for him or a service for him, and they bury him. And that was the end of that guy. So it was quite an eventful evening, and it was a lot of fun because I got to go a lot because they kept pulling out that damn axe beak. And since the axe beak doesn't have any language, all it can do is vocalize like a bird. All right, so that's the Sword Coast Chronicles. If you want to find out what happens next session, join us on Thursday night at 8 p.m., won't you? Please, won't you? All right, then there's the Lost Mine of Original D&D. That happens on Saturdays at 7 p.m. This time, they finally took care of Clark, but not the way that maybe you think they would. Because the magic user, or the witch as she styles herself, which is fine with me, the magic user has charm person. And yes, goblinoids are persons. And a hobgoblin is a goblinoid. So, she charmed Clark. And now Clark thinks that the witch is his best friend. And so they manage to, with very little fight, the fight basically being the rogue or the magic or the thief throwing a improvised flaming canister of oil into the bonfire, which ignited the 2 goblin bodyguards and wound up killing both of them. And then Ripper tore into one of them and started using it as a chew toy and as dinner. Uh, so, Clark is now the party's best friend, or thinks he is, and it'll be a full week before he rolls. He gets a chance to roll a second save. Um, so they have time to treat him right and help him fulfill his dreams of becoming the Lord of Cragmaw Castle, which they they all played into the fact that even though they have him charmed, they're all acting like they are his lackeys, and that they are going to help him take Cragmaw Castle and become the Lord of Cragmaw Castle. So they're just playing right into this poor bugbear's ego. Or Hobgoblin, whatever the hell Clark is supposed to be. Hobgoblin, Bugbear, whatever. So they're playing right into his ego. And so he now thinks that he has an army that consists of several goblins and this party of adventurers that are going to help him after they do some business in the little town of Sealsea, which is what I've renamed Phandalin. So they finished up at the cave. They went to the town. Um, they were looking for uh, Gundar Rockseeker's brothers, who aren't there. And they were looking for a friend of Sildar Hallwinter, who is also not there. But we kind of ran out of time at the end of the session while they were in the inn talking to people. And next Saturday night is going to be Halloween, and we have a couple of players who have little ones. And regardless of COVID and everything, there are a lot of communities that are still allowing trick or treating. So, those kids are of an age, 6 to 10, where trick or treating is all the rage. So the parents want to go trick or treating with the kids. I understand that. So we're going to skip next session and we will not play again until the 7th of November. So, uh, what you can do next Saturday night at 7 o'clock is you can go back and you can watch the previous editions of the Lost Mine of Original D&D on the Twitch or on my YouTube channel where the archives are. All right, and finally on Sunday, Walker of Waterdeep. Well, they finally got to the bottom of the plot to murder Eric and the attempted assassination of Elora. They had found the big machine and they fought the people who were controlling it, and then they attacked the um, vessel containing the grub. And as they started to attack the vessel containing the grub, a big view screen appeared. And they could tell that somebody was scrying this area. And this somebody was a humanoid with a cowl, a deep set cowl, and one skeletal hand, one withered, mummified hand. And then one eye with a cold blue pinprick of light, one eye that is golden and with a slit pupil like a cat's. And yes, their checks led them to believe that what they were seeing is they were seeing a being that has both the hand of Vecna and the eye of Vecna. And that was pretty terrifying to them. Because they also are canny enough to realize that if a creature possesses the hand of Vecna and the eye of Vecna, it's really easy for that creature to become possessed by Vecna and basically taken over by Vecna. So, it could be worse than just the Githyanki or demons controlling the Githyanki. It could be that pulling everybody's strings in the background is potentially Vecna, and that may be who they have to deal with. But that's going to be a few levels from now. Next time, they are going to get the opportunity to, depending on what they still want to do in Ravnica, which I don't think they want to do much of anything more here, they will have a chance to get to Kamigawa and begin their adventures there. So you can join us on Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, and you can see what happens when this party of adventurers heads off to Kamigawa. All right. Now, all these games appear on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Gallibond. And I just would like to remind everybody to try to make the events of your game memorable so that you can have tales from your table that you can share as well. Good night, everybody.